A surprise twist in the sentencing of fired National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. Just moments ago, the judge in this case, Judge Sullivan, agreeing to delay Flynn's sentencing. Special Prosecutor Robert Mueller's team is asking the court to go easy on Flynn. They've recommended a sentence of little or no jail time, and now Flynn's lawyer has taken the judge up on his offer of a delay in sentencing so that Flynn can continue to cooperate. I want to bring in CNN senior White House correspondent Pamela Brown. We have our crime and justice reporter Shimon Prokupez with us as well. They're both outside of the federal courthouse there in Washington. Shimon, explain this to us. What happened?
It's hard to explain, right? It's kind of been a wild morning here. Certainly nothing any of us expected here this morning, that the judge would go ahead and delay this. Clearly, the judge kept sending signals to Michael Flynn, to his attorneys, that it might be a good idea to delay this. He was not happy about a lot of things, perhaps, not entirely clear. He was using words like treason, and then accusing Michael Flynn of being working as a foreign agent while at the White House. Not true. He had to walk that back. The judge, he had to walk back other statements he made. And then in the end, he kept insisting, look, the judge did too, Michael Flynn's attorney, if you think you want to delay this, just let me know. And eventually, that's what happened. One of the things to keep in mind here is because Michael Flynn is still cooperating in a case involving his associates who were just charged yesterday, the judge thought maybe it might be a good idea to wait until that cooperation is over so that his attorneys, so that Michael Flynn's attorneys could come in and explain more about that cooperation, because it could be favorable to Michael Flynn. And it's clear, and it's very clear here, that this was not going the way Michael Flynn expected. And perhaps the judge here said, you know what, let me give you a break, take some more time, because I think what ultimately would have happened is the judge was ready to sentence him to jail.
And I think what you saw there was Michael Flynn's lawyers essentially taking the hint, hearing those judges' strong words, that this was a disgrace, pointing to the flag and saying that you arguably sold your country. Again, the judge sort of walked back some of those comments. But what he made clear in that courtroom is that this case is different from the other defendants who pleaded guilty and were sentenced. He made it clear that, look, you were the former national security advisor. You made these lies to the FBI inside your office in the West Wing. Evan Perez, you were inside that courtroom. Bring us in there in this stunning turn of events.
Well, you know, I think in the end, the judge, I think, made an impression with the lawyers, and they decided that they'd rather take a chance and wait 90 days. Again, the judge just decided that he would set sentencing for a date in March, giving, as Shimon says, Michael Flynn time to again, continue his cooperation. One of the things that Flynn's lawyers raised in the court there today was that he might be called to testify in the case of his associates who were just charged in Alexandria, Virginia yesterday. So again, this is something that the judge is willing to take into account. And as Shimon points out, it was clear that despite the fact that the prosecutors were recommending no jail time, the defense was saying no jail time. The judge was not going along with that, and so he was giving them every chance he had to be able to say, you want to delay this? Do you want to delay this? Because I can take into account your further cooperation. It was a stunning turn, Pamela, because it was not what we expected. You know, we've been in sentencings over the years, and these things are usually, 30 minutes. You go through.
Especially when both sides agree, they're on the same page.
I also think, and you know this judge because you've covered this judge before. Yes. Look, I've talked to lawyers who've been before this judge, and they all said this he's a wild card. He likes to speak, he likes to say a lot, and clearly he was sending a message in some ways about this investigation, about what's been going on here. And this was the wild card kind of going in.
Right. It was an interesting way for the wild card to go, though, because a lot of us were expecting, because this judge takes a dim view of any misconduct by the government, we thought that because the defense had raised the possibility of misconduct on the part of the FBI, that he would take a hard line against the government. Instead, what he did
that seemed to backfire, right?
It completely backfired. And right after the recess, one of the first things that Rob Kellner, one of Michael Flynn's lawyers, stood up in court and said, Judge, essentially, do not punish Michael Flynn for a filing that his lawyers made. And again, the judge, as you pointed out, was sort of walking back some of his more harsh critiques critiques of Michael Flynn, but it was clear.
There was backpedaling sort of on both sides.
But it was
there.
also, by the way, the judge raised one other thing. Michael Flynn's lawyers sort of offered as a comparison the fact that David Petraeus got a misdemeanor for pleading guilty to sharing classified information with somebody that wasn't authorized to have it. That was a big deal, and the judge sort of raised that and said, look, I don't agree with that sentence. I think that he should have gotten more than that, essentially taking a shot at the Justice Department for the way they handled that case. And he also said that essentially Michael Flynn and David Petraeus are not in the same league. So
that's not good news for Michael Flynn's side.
That was an unsolicited thing for him to say.
I also think for the special counsel's office, which is priding itself in some ways of getting these cooperators and getting people to help them out on their cases, this could have potentially been bad for them too.
Yes.
Had he been sentenced to jail time, because they are asking, and then you see Michael Flynn walking out now with protesters outside.
Right. And what's so interesting is we see him walk outside of this courthouse after a very different outcome. Let's listen in.
Yeah, you have both sides there. You have some a sizable group of people who showed up to show support for General Flynn. They have signs saying General Flynn is a hero and so on. And then, of course, there's some counter-protesters who are out there saying, lock him up, which, of course, recalls the chant that Michael Flynn shouted on the stage at the Republican National Convention. Look, a lot of us were so surprised by today and certainly did not expect that he was going to end up where he was at the end here today.
He thought he would walk outside of that courthouse today with no jail time and perhaps probation. He is walking out now after being scolded by the judge and a delayed sentencing.
And the judge essentially raising the prospect that he could have locked him up. So
exactly.
Again, the chant that made Michael Flynn famous at the time of the Republican National Convention turned against him here today by what the judge said in court. And one of the last things, by the way, at the end of the hearing, Michael Flynn's lawyers asked to speak privately to the judge before they left. So clearly there was some things that they wanted to make sure they reassure the judge, again, that Michael Flynn shouldn't be punished for things that his lawyers did.
And what was so interesting, we were talking about this, that it seemed like Robert Mueller's prosecutor in the room was trying to sort of come to Michael Flynn's defense too, saying, look, he's been very helpful, he's been cooperating in this case, and when he was asked by the judge whether he should have been charged with treason, he didn't go there. I mean, it is clear that was not under consideration.
And after the recess, he clarified even further and said, look, he met with us 19 times and never once did we contemplate that he was guilty of anything treasonous. So again, they were very, very careful and as you said, supportive of General Flynn, because I think they realized what a bad position he had suddenly found himself in, and essentially trying to give him a little bit of a rescue in front of this judge.